And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather with southwest flow and a lot of moisture coming northeastward here. Got quite an area of IFR here from St. Lawrence Island down to the Pribilofs into Nunivak Island and then back out toward the western Aleutians. Improving, some high pressure moving across the interior here. So VFR in that area improving also for the south central Alaska area with some IFR still here to the east, North Gulf Coast and along and north of the eastern Alaska range. IFR Brooks Range in areas there out to the Arctic coast. And some IFR here over the east side of the Panhandle, especially down toward Misty Fjords, Ketchikan and Net, Metlakatla in those areas. VFR Kodiak Island holds in through the afternoon. VFR day there, also up into south central Alaska. Good VFR. Lingering marginal conditions along portions of the Alaska Range, especially the central and east side here, along with the Copper River Basin and northward there, across the east side up to Eagle. Marginal VFR, North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle. IFR, central eastern Arctic coast, marginal south of there to the crest of the Brooks Range. And a lot of IFR here holding out over the Bering Sea up to about Cape Newenham and Koryak there and St. Lawrence Island, as well as much of the central and west central Aleutians. And for Saturday morning, really good conditions here over the interior, south of the Brooks Range, all the way down into Kodiak, VFR, Prince William Sound, a little marginal here over the eastern Copper River Basin Saturday morning. And then that next system developing and tracking northeastward there toward the southwest coast, that bringing IFR right up to the coastline there. All of the Aleutians, IFR except Shimmy and Attu, a little better there. Alaska Peninsula, IFR there, and marginal again for the Panhandle, eastern Gulf of Alaska. And then moving on to the afternoon, we'll see this area slides eastward here, breaks up a little bit as it crosses the western Alaska Range and Aleutian Range, with IFR sliding up from Kodiak Island right on into southern Cook Inlet and along the western Alaska Range there. So conditions coming down for south central Alaska, especially Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula in the afternoon. Ceilings visibility is coming down with a lot of moisture flowing in from the southwest. So we've got continued IFR for the southwest coast, eastern Bering Sea, north-northwest there to St. Lawrence Island. Good VFR here in the interior, Copper River Basin right up to the north slope and the southeast coast. VFR with marginal VFR right along the coastline. Anaktuvik and Adigan, marginal VFR again at times through the day on Friday. Lake Clark and Merrill starting out marginal, becoming VFR and improving also for rainy, marginal early on, then VFR. Windy, probably marginal VFR the entire day. Could start out IFR as well. And for Isabel, marginal VFR. Mentasta looking marginal. Portage also marginal VFR in the forecast. And, for Portage, let me back it up there. Tanita, marginal VFR. Portage, marginal VFR becoming VFR. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels, 4,000 feet here, right over the Gulf of Alaska, back to the west and northward to the Arctic coast. 6,000 feet over the southeast coast and the warm air out here over the Bering Sea with that southwest wind flow. We've got 10,000 feet nudging northward with 8,000 feet or so up to around the Pribilof Islands and then back down to 4,000 feet for St. Lawrence Island. And for the icing, again, a lot of moisture coming in, so some considerable moderate rime icing for Adak and Atka spreading northeastward. And a little bit of leftover icing up here with that washed out front for the northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island area. And then also some areas of isolated moderate rime icing or mixed icing here for the southeast coast. Right on up into the mid and upper Tanana Valley, right to the Yukon River. And the jet stream here, one upper low at 33,000 feet over the north slope, another one over Yakutat, and yet another one there down along the British Columbia coastline. So that's pushed the jet well to the south there at this longitudes. Otherwise back to the west here, higher pressure coming up ahead of that stronger storm out to the west. And we've got good westerlies at about 160 knots coming into the southwest Bering Sea. Northwest winds 80 to 90 knots along the southwest coast. And then for 9,000 feet, pretty light over the interior, especially up to the north and east here. Again, the stronger winds well to the south. And then the next storm bringing in some pretty good winds here, 60 to 65 knots there into the west central Bering Sea. And at 3,000 feet, an impressive 70 knot wind max here at this elevation coming across eastern Aleutians with a developing system down there. Otherwise, 30 to 40 knot southwest winds here in the central to eastern Bering Sea, turn south at about 30 knots there toward the Seward Peninsula. And then higher pressure through here resulting in northwest winds up to 40 knots there through the Kamishak Gap area and the bay into the Barren Islands and Kodiak Island as well. Light everywhere else, including the southeast coast. So that means turbulence will be here around Kodiak Island on up into southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay. And the heaviest turbulence will be considerable moderate there with these stronger winds for Adak, Atka, sliding into Nikolsky.